morning. I'm Yolo County District Attorney Jeff Reisig. In September of 2000, a Yolo County jury convicted Israel Seha of child rape, over 19 counts of child rape. They also convicted him of using a firearm against a little girl that was his stepdaughter. The rapes and the assaults started in 2003, and they went on for years and years. This little girl at the time ended up testifying at a jury trial where a jury in Yolo County came back and convicted that man of all of those charges. And not long after, in October of 2000, a Superior Court judge in Yolo County sentenced that man, Israel Seha, to 139 years in prison and promised that victim that he would never get out. In January of 2026, under a new law in California called the Elder Parole Law, this man, who is now only 63 years old and who had only served 20% of his sentence, was approved by Governor Newsom's parole commissioners, 2 of them, for release under California's fairly new elder parole law. The victim wasn't there. That little girl, that victim, was Roxanne. And she did not learn about the parole board's decision until she was contacted by family. She's here with us today, and what she knows now is that there will be a full en banc hearing next Tuesday where the governor's parole commissioners, all of them appointed by Governor Newsom, will be considering whether to uphold the preliminary decision to release Mr. Seha back into the community at the ripe old age of 63 on elder parole. And so we asked Roxanne to come in today to put a warning out to the community and to beg the parole board and the governor to reverse this decision to release Mr. Seha. And so, Roxanne, you can step right here. I have 2 questions for you. First, how did being raped by this man affect your life? Can you talk about that?
It has affected every area of my life. I don't have normal relationships with people because I was taught that people, that I can't get close to them because they're always going to let me down. So I don't create bonds with people. I don't have friends. People aren't, in my eyes, they're not good. And he taught me that because he was my dad.
And how did you feel when you learned for the first time that he was possibly going to be released under this elder parole law?
Like, my pain and everything he did to me and all the troubles that I have, and, like, it didn't matter anymore. Like, my pain it doesn't matter how I feel or how anybody feels. Like, I don't matter.
If you had a message for the commissioners that will be making the decision next Tuesday and Governor Newsom, what would you say to them?
You guys have no idea. It's not just little girls that he likes. He doesn't care. He will go after little boys too. And I'm just afraid that this time he won't get caught because he won't leave anybody alive.
Good job. Thank you. I'd also like to introduce Assistant Chief Deputy District Attorney Garrett Hamilton, who has been working to oppose the release of Mr. Seha under this very flawed elder parole law since we got notice that Mr. Seha was being considered. So, Mr. Hamilton.
He's only served about 20% of his sentence, and that's just wrong. When the commissioners asked him in January, how do you deal and how will you deal with these pedophilic urges that have caused him to rape little kids, his response was that he's going to pray. That should not be good enough for the Board of Parole hearings. That is ridiculous. California does not want this. None of these child rapists should be getting out so early in their sentences, and California does not want this. We've got to stop this nonsense going on. We've got to change these laws. The commissioner in January even described, I don't want to say his name, but I will, Israel Seha as an excellent citizen. That is on the record, in the transcript, in the parole hearings. And that is wrong.
So the call to action today, and the reason we had this press conference and asked Roxanne to come, is we are urging the community to speak out, to send letters to the BPH Correspondence Unit and address inmate Israel Seha, number P99514. You can email, you can write, you can call, but we're asking the community to be heard on this, to stop this release. This man should not be out. He shouldn't be out at 63. He shouldn't be out at 73, 83, 93. He should die in prison. I want to thank you for coming, and we'll take any questions.
I didn't know that he said that. You understand what he meant when he didn't mean pray. He didn't mean pray like he was going to pray to God. He told you guys right there what he was going to do. And it's funny that you guys thought he meant pray.
What did you mean?
That he was going to go out and pray on little kids. Not that he was going to pray to God. That's the model citizen that you guys are going to let out.
I just want to say we knew this would be incredibly hard for Roxanne. We invited her here, and she wanted to come because she wanted people to hear how dangerous this man is. This isn't pleasant for her, obviously. It's not pleasant for any of us. But this law is so broken that a man like this could be getting out. We felt an obligation to do this today. And so I would welcome any questions that anybody might have at this point. Yes?
What does this say about our justice system, that something like this could even potentially happen?
Well, my position is this is the most outrageous law currently on the books in California, where child rapists, men who repeatedly raped little girls and were sentenced to life in prison, can now be released early on elder parole, which the law currently is at 50, they're eligible. Now, there's an amendment being floated around in the building right now to make that at 65. I oppose that law because I think it's bad all the way across the board. I don't think these men should ever get out on elder parole. And I think, again, we know from just talking to citizens in the community, nobody supports this. I've yet to encounter somebody that thinks this is a good law, where somebody who's been convicted of 19 counts of child rape on a little girl who threatened her with a gun and impregnated her should somehow be released just because he is older. And by the way, 63 is not that old. And the fact that the law says 50 is when it actually becomes eligible is even more insane. So to me, and I'm just one district attorney in California, but I completely oppose elder parole for child rapists. I think the law should completely eliminate them from consideration. That's not to say there may not be other inmates who've committed other crimes that could be considered for elderly parole. But this is a hard stop for me. It's why I oppose AB 2727. I think it's not enough. And I think a lot of people out there agree with me.
At the parole hearing in January, one point that came up was that he was likely to be deported if and when he was released almost immediately. Does that change the equation at all in any way for you?
For me personally, no. I mean, the law is broken because this is one man and he's a terrible monster, but there are thousands of men like him in state prison. The law needs to be fixed. Now, if for some reason he is released, I do hope that they grab him and deport him right away. I'll pray for that. But our hope is that the board will reverse the decision, and that even if they don't, Governor Newsom will exercise his executive authority to stop it. He can. He can do it. That's my position. Anything else?
Are there any others coming up in this situation, inmates coming up like this? I mean, how long was he supposed to be in, once again? Can you tell me his sentence originally?
Well, Seha was sentenced to 139 years in prison. He's done 20% of that. And to answer your question, yeah, there are, as I said, hundreds, maybe thousands of people who will qualify for elder parole under the current law in California who have committed violent acts like rape and molest and other crimes against children. None of that, and this, my position and many of DAs and sheriffs like Sheriff Cooper in Sacramento, we are fundamentally opposed to this idea that people should be let out after serving only 20% of their sentence or whatever when a judge sentenced them to life in prison. This is insane. It undermines the confidence in the criminal justice system when this happens. And there are lots of cases coming up. So to answer your question specifically, Sheriff Cooper's talked about a bunch of them in Sacramento. There's more in the queue in Sacramento. In Yolo, we do have people that are serving sentences on these crimes, which will clearly be eligible for elder parole in the coming years. And as you look around California, you'll find these cases everywhere. This isn't an anomaly. I mean, Roxanne had the courage to come forward today to talk, and God bless her for doing that. But there are thousands of victims out there, just like her.
What are your thoughts on what she said about his statement?
Well, we don't believe him for a minute, and that's, we carefully reviewed what he said during that parole commissioner hearing. There were two commissioners in that initial ruling that granted him elder parole, and it was during that hearing where he said he would pray. But he also admitted during that hearing that he continues to suffer from I forget how he exactly stated it, but that he is still attracted to children. So he's admitted he's still attracted to children. He's only 63. He's not going to stop. This man should not be considered for release, ever.
Are there any specific plans for the en banc hearing on Tuesday? Like Roxanne, will you plan on attending, or anything else that you could be aware of?
Well, this is very important to us today, that we get the word out on Friday, and we'll hopefully get some momentum between now and Tuesday to get people to write letters to bph.correspondence.unit.cdcr.ca.gov. Yesterday, we were on the radio putting out the message. We'll continue to beat the drums. We may even have people outside the building on the day of the hearing. Ironically, next week is National Crime Victims' Rights Week, so there will be crime victim celebrations and events going on all over the state. We tend to channel that energy into being heard on the date of the hearing.
If this man is granted parole hypothetically and he's not deported, is there any means of continuing to appeal this? Is there anything people can do?
I wish there was an answer that would make Roxanne feel better, but there really isn't. I mean, if he's granted parole by the full board, unless Governor Newsom exercises his executive authority, which I believe he can. He might say that he can't, but he had the executive authority to put a moratorium on the death penalty. and he's issued many other executive authority orders during his tenure. He could stop this, but if he doesn't stop it, the man will be out. He'll be back on the streets, and that's terrifying to all of us.
If more people like this continue to be released as we're seeing across the state, obviously this could have a potential to continue to affect your office. There could potentially be repeat offenders. What would that do to your staff and also taxpayer dollars if this continues to happen?
Well, it's absolutely true that these hearings are forcing a relitigation of the issues again and again. And the worst part of all that, by the way, is what you saw with Roxanne. I mean, she was promised in 2000 that this man would never get out. It destroyed her life. And she told me that before we came in here. I mean, she has suffered for years because of this. And then she gets a phone call not long ago telling her that this man was going to get out under elder parole. And it's just devastating. And I can't imagine what victims feel like when they get that notification. So to me, that's the big issue. Like, we're going to fight. We're going to do everything we have to do to keep these men in prison. It doesn't matter how much it costs, how much resources it takes. We're going to do it. We're going to fight. But it is a lot of work. And it's insane that California allows this law to remain on the books. Even the amended version that's being proposed right now is wrong. Israel Seha has 63 right now. If the amended version passes, it just means that at 65 he would be eligible. It's wrong under any scenario. That's our position. That's my position.
Have you ever spoken with any legislators or representatives who might be able to help change that or put forth another bill that could potentially aim to do what you're saying here?
Well, I've certainly spoken with lawmakers about the need to to close the loophole that allows child rapists elder parole at all. Unfortunately, the bill that was originally sponsored earlier this year, AB 2727, it did say that, but they amended it in the last public safety hearing. And that amendment allowed elder parole for these types of offenses at the age of 65. I oppose that. I'm not willing to cut a middle ground on this issue. Now, other people may support it. That's fine. I just disagree with them. I don't think we can capitulate on this issue. I think the right thing to say is that child rapists should not be considered for elder parole, ever.
Do you think that means our legislators aren't seeing eye to eye with residents here who are concerned and victims who are seeing this horrible thing happen?
I have no doubt about that. I have no doubt that the legislature is completely out of touch with the electorate on this issue. And I say that, having been a DA for almost 20 years and talked to thousands of people about this issue in the last 6 months, in town halls and all over the place, social media, not a single person that I've talked to says, yes, these people should be eligible for elder parole at 65 or 50. And so I don't know where the legislature came up with this 65 number that they're proposing now. It should have never been passed in the first place, and now the loophole should be closed, period. I would challenge them to find everyday citizens, ordinary people that would think that that's a good idea to allow these people out at 65. I think it's a fiction that they've created in the Capitol that somehow 65 is a magic number.